Hey, what is up, my profitable, purposeful entrepreneurs? Welcome to a new episode today. What are we going to talk about today? It's going to be about one word from two different perspectives that is going to help you get unstuck, accelerate your business, make more money, make a bigger impact, and have so many ahas. Your head will be tingling and tingling and tingling. So if you're ready, let's go on and get started. I spent the last few years building a successful online business while learning from some of the most brilliant marketing minds and coaches on the planet. And now, I've walked away from that business to start over again from scratch. Why? Because, like you, I felt the calling of contribution and the all-consuming need to create a business giving me the freedom to put fatherhood and family first, while fulfilling my calling to share my expertise in order to serve and impact others in a positive way. Join me now as we walk the path together to create the life and business of our dreams. I'm Evans Putman. Welcome to the journey of the profitable, purposeful entrepreneur. What is up, my profitable, purposeful entrepreneurs? So glad to have you back today. I want to share something today with you that I learned recently. Or let me take that back for a second. It's actually something that I was reminded of recently. And it was paired with something that I did for the very first time. So let's get into that because I know this is going to help. Why am I sharing it? Because I know it's going to help you. I know it helped myself and my business partner when we were doing something recently. I know it helped me just a couple of days ago. And I was reminded about this from Russell Brunson, and it helped him. So I know if it's good enough for Russell Brunson, it's good enough for me. It's good enough for all of us. So what is that I learned? It's one word. That word is immersion. Immersion. Did I say it right the first time? I don't even know, but it's immersion. IMMERSION. Now, what is so cool about immersion? Well, I'm going to talk about what Russell Brunson discussed first. Then I'm going to share with you what I did for the very first time. And I highly recommend you do it as well because it was really cool. But I want to start with Russell Brunson first, because while we're talking about the same thing, we're going to come from the topic of immersion from two different directions. Okay. So recently I listened to a podcast. It was the Marketing Secrets podcast while I was working out. If you don't listen to Russell's podcast, I highly recommend it. You're going to learn a lot. I know I learned a lot. I love listening to that. I can't wait for a new episode to come out. My goal is to get to that point eventually with this episode as well. But I digress. Russell Brunson's podcast the other day, it was released on April 10th. It is called, I'm looking at it now, it's called The Secret to Have Your Big Aha. The Secret to Have Your Big Aha. So in this, Russell starts talking about immersion. So let me just pull up real quickly the definition of immersion. Basically, immersion is the action of immersing someone or something in liquid. I don't think that's what Russell was talking about, but it might be what I was talking about. So we'll come back to that in a moment. The second part of this is deep mental involvement. And that is where Russell was coming from in his podcast. He was discussing how recently he needed to focus on this new book that he is writing. Okay. And he was having a hard time putting some things together. And he found himself at some point immersed totally in the subject, and he was able to move forward much more quickly. And that is what I want to talk about with you now. If you're feeling like you need to maybe launch a new product in your business, maybe you need to get a new sales funnel up, whatever it is, one of the fastest ways to do that is to block everything else out and immerse totally into that one subject. Now, I want to give you a quick story to show you how this can help. In the business I was in before, my partner and I were working on a webinar. We had put out one webinar. It did okay, but it really wasn't up to par. It wasn't converting well. We weren't comfortable going all in on it, putting in a bunch of ad spend money. We were comfortable sending it to our list, and we had hot customers, people that already were familiar with him and familiar with our business. They were willing to buy, but we weren't comfortable putting it out there and paying for ads because we just didn't think it was going to convert. So we knew we needed to redo the webinar. And at this point, I had been really deep into Russell Brunson and Expert Secrets, the perfect webinar, learning as much as I could. We had joined the 2 Comma Club coaching program, which I'm still in. I still highly believe that everyone should have a coach. I mean, if you look all the way up at my coaches, people like Russell Brunson, Steve Larson, Myron Golden, people who are multi-millionaires who are awesome they're the top of their industry, they have coaches. So it doesn't matter what level you're on, having a coach is awesome. So I was in this coaching program and I knew we needed to do this webinar, but at the same time I was doing like 20 other things. And I was reading about it. I was watching all these awesome training videos on the perfect webinar that Russell does. And it's an industry-changing webinar structure, which if you're not familiar with it, come in our group, the Profitable Purposeful Entrepreneurs on Facebook, join the group, post in there. I'll be glad to do some teaching and some training on it because it's something that I've learned a lot about now. But back to the story, we had been working on it, and I just couldn't get it. There were things I just couldn't get because I was actually writing the script for this webinar. So I had to come up with every piece of content in the webinar, and I had to frame it the correct way. I needed to figure out what our offers were going to be to our prospects at the end of the webinar. And it just wasn't coming. I felt like I understood the concepts, but I couldn't bring it all together. So this may be happening to you too, as well in some of your business. Maybe you have some great ideas, but you just can't seem to move from the idea to the actual implementation. So that's where I was stuck. I understood the concept. I understood the ideas. The implementation was driving me crazy. So what I did, and I'm not exactly sure, I can't give you an exact time frame for this, but I do remember at one point we were coming up and it just so happened to work out. We had put a deadline. This is when we're going to go live. So it's got to be done. It's got to be put together, the graphics, everything that needs to be done, the follow-up emails, everything has to be ready, the product delivery. So I got most of that stuff done ahead of time, but we were still stuck on the webinar. Well, it just so happened, it worked out that my family was going out of town. So I was not going because I knew I had this work to do. But what happened is that I just I told everybody on our team, don't contact me. I'm going to be, going dark 30 or whatever you call it. I was offline hard for probably 4 straight days. And during those 4 straight days, all I did was immerse myself in the training, the video training. I read a book again. I read the scripts again. I did everything. I just immersed in it 100%, no distractions, learning nothing else, just only that topic. And when I came out of those 4 days, I had written the webinar script And I was so fired up about it. I could not believe it. When I turned it over to our video editor and to my partner, they looked at it, and my video editor said, "You just wrote your $1 million funnel script. This is your $1 million webinar right here." And when we filmed it and the way it turned out, it was even better than I could have expected. And it felt great. It was not, I could have never gotten there if I wouldn't have immersed myself in everything and that was involved with learning that topic and just stayed away from everything else. It was such a great feeling. So you've probably done that before in the past too, when you've tried to learn a new skill, when you've tried to, maybe you wanted to learn a new subject. So you grabbed like 3 or 4 books and just dove into it when you were on vacation, anything like that. The power of immersion, but we often forget about it. And I've forgotten about it. I was actually reminded by that podcast. Okay, quickly, one more thing I want to talk about when it has to do with immersion is, and this is a different take. I actually, for the very first time ever the other day, I went to a float tank. I was given a certificate for Christmas for a float tank visit, an hour in a float tank, an hour in a massage, and I think it was a 30-minute steam sauna. The sauna came first. The immersion float tank came second. And I don't know if you've never done a float tank before, I highly recommend it. It was amazing. One of the things that really helped it out for me, and I can tell you this with 100% certainty, was that I had been meditating for 75 straight days with the Muse headphone before I got to the float tank. So I was able to go into the float tank and immediately go inside myself and not be distracted by anything and be able to just basically float and meditate for an hour. And it's an amazing feeling. It's relaxing on the body and the mind. But here's the thing. If you look back at that definition I read for you earlier, immersion, the action of immersing someone or something in a liquid. Okay, so I was in basically what he said, salt water on steroids, floating, immersed in that water, and also deep mental involvement. The deep mental involvement part was that I was actually able to go inside of myself and immerse into just meditating. Okay. And this was really important because at the time I was stuck. I was stuck on something. Something was in my business that I just couldn't move forward on. And I had a lot of confusion, a lot of noise in my head, and my momentum was going nowhere. And as we've discussed before, when you're an entrepreneur, if you're not in momentum, you feel horrible and it makes things worse. So because of that, the float tank allowed me to relax. It allowed me to go into a meditative state. And I had so many aha moments, just like Russell talks about in the podcast. I had many, many aha moments that as soon as I got out of that float tank, I was immediately grabbing my phone and opening up my notepad and typing before I went to get my massage. And it was amazing because when I left there that day, I came home and I was like, wow, I felt not only like I was totally relaxed from head to toe from the time I was able to spend there, but I also had these amazing aha moments. So 2 things to think about when you're stuck, when you're trying to get past something, an obstacle has come up in your way in your business, in your personal life. It really doesn't matter if you're trying to learn something new, if you are moving your business in a direction it's never been in before. A lot of things can block that. A lot of things can come up in your way. The fear of change, your mind will start telling you no when you really do need to go forward. And it will do everything it can to keep you from moving forward and keeping you in a comfortable place for your ego, not for yourself or your business or your customers. So what you need to do at that point is just write that one word down, keep it somewhere near your desk, on your whiteboard, anywhere. Immersion. Okay. Now, whether you need to immerse in just cutting everything off and going deep into a subject like Russell Brunson discussed, like what helped me get over and write our webinar that it did. It didn't make us $1 million, but we had a very, very, very good second year of business because of that webinar and the offers that we put together. And if you also need to immerse, and this is something you can do daily that I would highly recommend, meditate, immersing yourself, get mentally clear on things, clear out the noise, go to a float tank, go for a long walk, whatever it does, whatever you do that you feel comfortable doing to get into that deep mental involvement. Take the time to do it. It is well worth it. It is well worth to put everything to the side for an hour, for a weekend, because what happens is when you think that you may not be moving forward, it's like, oh, but I need to keep going forward. Well, you're not actually going forward. You're stuck. Okay. And when you're stuck, you're doing yourself no good. You're doing your family no good. You're doing your customers no good. You're doing nobody any good. But you just feel like you've got to keep busy. You're busy spinning your wheels. So stop spinning your wheels. Tell yourself it's okay to step away, to immerse, to put everything else to the side, to focus in hard on one thing. Get over that, because that will actually take you over that hump and you will shoot like, a rocket. You will take off, believe me, just that little bit of focus, that hard time. And also, it's either going to help you get over a hump or it's going to help you have that great big aha where you realize that's what I need to do. That's what I need to do. Okay, so I hope this helps. Immersion. Thank you all for listening again. Let me know how I can help. Make sure if you haven't come to our Facebook group, join our Facebook group, the Profitable Purposeful Entrepreneurs. Come in there, introduce yourself, share any questions you have about immersion, share any questions you have about anything. Let me know what your biggest challenges are. I'll be glad to come in there and help you out in any way. And our community will also be there to support and help you so we can see you succeed. It's all about collaboration, not about competition. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Have you joined our free online community for profitable, purposeful entrepreneurs yet? What are you waiting for? It's absolutely free. Just head over to Facebook right now. Go to the search bar, type in Profitable, Purposeful Entrepreneurs. You'll find the group. Join us. We'd love to have you in here. The community is great. You'll learn lots of valuable skills, strategies, ideas. You'll meet other purposeful, profitable entrepreneurs of every level, from those just starting out to those who have been in business for a while. And it's a great community, very supportive. Join us today. We look forward to seeing you there.